Hey, what's up, Shining Otaku? It's Urban here today, and comics are hard as hell. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. This is the most probably rawest I'm gonna be with y'all. We spend a lot of time on Shining Spotlight talking about or discussing with different people that we have on the nature of original English language manga or manga inspired comics and a lot of parts of the industry, but we don't really get into just being raw about the fact that the whole process of comics is not an easy thing, no matter probably who you talk to. For example, if you are just jumping into comics, a lot of people don't know. Generally, a lot of these comics that we see come out or in manga involve full blown teams. I can even say for what we're doing, with the origami super punch, as some of you guys have been following, it's a whole process that it's very hard, difficult for us to be able to get done. Um, just to even go over a few components of it, whenever you're doing a comic, it's almost like a team oriented sport. You have the obviously the penciler, the artists themselves, right? But you have the artist, you have like or the penciler, you have the inker, you have the colorist, depending on what you're doing with that. You may also have the obviously the writer, then you may have a letterer. That's not to mention, any of the other components that might go in, the publisher, I think I mentioned the editor. You have a few different people or you have a lot of different people involved in this big factory esque thing that we call comics. And of course, in manga, sometimes it can be a little bit different, but even with that, you still have a whole team. You have assistants that usually are helping the mangaka with all those things that I just mentioned. So, reason why I'm saying this is that I think sometimes if you're coming into comics, um, it can be it may come off like it's something that's very easy to do. Like I used to think that, once upon a time, like, 10 plus years ago, that coming into comics, doing comics was, oh, you can do a page, somebody can draw up a page in, a matter of a few minutes. I'm like, well, if that page is going to be any type of quality behind it, it's going to take more than just that. Not to mention there's writing, there's a whole lot of other components that go into it that I think a lot of people take for granted if you're going to have an actual quality professional level work out there. Um, and yeah, like, I mean, honestly, I could go on a rant for an hour talking about how difficult it can be doing comics. Even doesn't matter if you even if you enjoy the people you work with. Everybody may have a different vision on what they're wanting to do, or how they see things with what they're wanting to do. But again, there's many different components to it. If we look at, for example, the penciler or whatever, they're kind of the one that kind of sets the style. The anchor is going over that, and kind of enhancing that in any way they can see fit. Not to mention the writer themselves, they're the ones who actually are setting the story. But as we've talked about before in some of the other segments on this channel, um, when it comes to art and writing, that's a marriage. That's not something that can easily be trounced. And I can tell you so many times on social media where I've seen um, you know, the writers or artists, kind of down each other. Writers have had the tendency to think that doing art is easy, you know? And I just told you just a moment ago, like once upon a time, I used to think it was a lot easier than what it actually is, So I actually suggest to anybody who is a writer, just straight up a writer than nothing else, take some art classes, at least try to understand and empathize with the labor intensive aspects of what a artist goes through when they're drawing up comics. I mean, there's so much more to it than just what I'm saying, but and then even sometimes I've seen it to where artists, if it's people who maybe solely draw, they might think that writing is easy, because they don't necessarily see, visually the effort that goes into it. But if you're actually a really good writer, there's a whole lot that goes into it. Anybody can type up something, but to actually write a cohesive story that has structure to it and that people can actually vibe with, that's not an easy task. But when you're doing comics, again, both these have to come together because the artists, if they're doing, if they're drawing out the story, well, that means the story it's going to have to be the way that they envision it in their mind and vice versa. Like if, the writer's writing it out the best way they can, but you can't diverge from each other so much to the point to where both of you guys are telling totally different stories. Like that is not a good idea either. That can be problematic too, because then neither one of you is going to be even satisfied with whatever you come up with and everything else, in between. Um, so I'm saying this to anybody out there. This is just like a quick video that I had on my mind, and I just wanted to talk about on this channel. Um, and I'm sure you're going to see other people within my team from time to time that are going to come on here and maybe just talk about some stuff like this. But like doing comics is hard as hell. I'm just letting you know it's stressful. You get angry. At least I do. I can't speak for everybody in my team. It's nice you get angry. And it can be um something that can be very therapeutic too once you come out with that product. I mean, not only that, but like even when you come out with that story with that work, um, the thing is that a lot of creators out there, especially if you think about like in indie spaces or whatever, they work other jobs, they work part-time jobs because the industry as a whole doesn't necessarily pay well. There's been issues with that. We could get into even historically how that's been. Usually when people think of comics, they always think that as soon as they get into comics, they're gonna just make tons and tons of money. But if you're doing this, you're doing it because you love it, because you have a passion for it. And if it can amount to that and become that, then that's great. Now that does not mean, let me make sure I say this, I have to say this. That doesn't mean that, let's say you're working with somebody and you're paying somebody that you pay them pennies a capful. Like that's not right either. There's a standard in the industry that I think sometimes isn't, I'm not going to say it's not talked about, but I don't think that the information is easily available for a lot of newcomers coming in, because and this is just my opinion. I'm not even going to count this as my group's opinion, because this is just me talking to you guys through the channel. But um I mean, and I think about even myself when I came into comics. It was not something that I saw the information for easily. Like I had my own assumptions, I looked for it, and then over time, as I met more people and I learned more, that's when things became more of an understanding. I've always been um, striving creatively, even before being a part of what we're doing now. But um, these are things that I think, when we're having some of these interviews on the channel and we're talking about some of these things, we try to make sure we inform a lot of you guys about, because I think it is important for anybody out there who's wanting to be an accomplished creative and wants their art form and their work to be seen. They want people to see their thoughts. So with that being said, I'm sure there'll be more videos like this, but this is just like a little mini rant about comics, or not really a rant per se, but just kind of me shooting a little crap with you guys about comics in the industry and the toughness that can be with it. But with that being said, guys, if you are new to the channel, I recommend you subscribe. Hit the like button because it always helps us out. It helps boost up the channel, helps us keep us going. And yeah, share this video around with your friends. With that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Look out for Origami Super Punch coming soon, and we will check you guys out later.